Hey everyone, Channel Partners Craig Galbraith here at the CP Studios, brought to you by Jive, and happy to have with us Brian Lischer, who is the founder and CEO of Ignyte. Brian, how are you?
Me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We're going to talk a little bit about marketing today, and maybe you can start by telling us why you founded Ignyte.
Sure. I founded Ignyte. I actually spent most of my career doing digital marketing, and I got a little, bored of just promoting the brands, and I realized that a lot of the brands that we were working with needed help redefining who they were, which is more the branding component of it. So we say that branding is the being, marketing is the doing. So branding is very strategic. It's about figuring out who you are as a company, who your audience is, and what type of message is going to resonate with them. And then the marketing is about getting that message out to the marketplace. So I really founded Ignyte because I wanted to do some of that deeper work with these brands and walk them through the rebranding process. And then we still help them with the digital marketing as well.
So what are a couple of questions that people have, and maybe a couple of tips you'd give businesses that maybe are struggling a bit with marketing and branding?
Sure. A lot of companies come to us, CEOs and chief marketing officers, and they aren't really sure if it's time to rebrand. So I get that question a lot, is how do I know if it's time to rebrand my company? And there's definitely some telltale signs. And so one of them is if you're embarrassed to hand out your business card.
Yes.
So we see that a lot. That's a good sign that it's time to rebrand. If you have outgrown your business model, so a lot of companies are transitioning, they might go from a service-based business to a product-based business, or the opposite way, and they need to reinvent their brand to better represent who this company is becoming. Or maybe they've just grown and they become bigger, but their brand is still representing a much smaller company. Another very common sign is if you're currently going through a merger acquisition or recently went through a merger acquisition, that's definitely a time you need to consider rebranding and figuring out what to do with your brand architecture. So those are some of the common signs that we see.
So what are some of the mistakes then that companies make when they go through that rebranding process?
Sure. Not investing enough. It's a lot of people see branding as just another marketing expense, and that's probably the worst mistake that you can make. Because if you do it right, the rebrand should last for a good 5 to 10 years, maybe longer, depending on how quickly your company is growing and how quickly your industry is changing. So it's something that you want to invest enough time and money into doing that process. Picking the right type of partner is another mistake that a lot of people make. There's a lot of confusion of the difference between a branding and a marketing firm. So a lot of times companies might pick more of a marketing company to walk them through that rebranding project. And so one thing that you should definitely be looking for as a company is a firm that does very in-depth research. So we have a PhD sociologist that heads up our research team, and we do a lot of in-depth internal research, internal brand research to understand the internal culture of these companies, because that's the internal brand, and arguably that's even more important than the external message. And then we do the customer and strategic partner interviews, in-depth interviews, surveys, and it's really about understanding current brand perceptions, because brands are really just perceptions. It's the way people perceive and experience your company. And so the only way to understand that is by actually talking with those people, with those stakeholders. And it's only then, once you have that understanding, that you can make decisions for the future of the brand. So research is something that you do not want to skip if you're going through a rebrand. It's too costly. The cost of doing a rebrand wrong could be catastrophic.
We have a lot of partner businesses here that have a lot of really good salespeople, but maybe they're not so hot on the marketing side. Why do you think marketing and rebranding and all this is such a challenge for some businesses?
Sure. So if you're struggling to close deals because there's a disconnect between what you provide and the message that people are hearing in the marketplace, then that ties back to the marketing. The marketing is not clearly communicating who you are, what you provide, the value that you provide, how are you different than the competition. And if the marketing isn't doing that, that means that typically you haven't defined the brand. You don't understand who you are as a company. So we really see the the first layer of any business is your business model and your business strategy. Until you get that solidified, that's why it's hard for us to work with early stage startups, because that's changing too much, and they shouldn't invest a lot into branding or marketing at that point until they figure out their business model. Once they figure that out, then it's your brand strategy, and it's being able to define things like your purpose. Why do you exist beyond making money? Your vision, what's that story a leader tells about where the company is heading? Your mission, your core values, your brand personality, your visual identity, your brand narrative. All those things relate to branding, and when you get alignment with that, and it's a message that you know that's been vetted by research, that it's going to resonate with your audience and speak to their needs and challenges, then you get your marketing right. So then it's your marketing strategy. And then if your marketing strategy is right, then you're going to have a really successful sales strategy. So that's how we view it: business strategy, brand strategy, marketing strategy, sales strategy. There needs to be alignment with all of them.
Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you for your time. Really enjoyed your keynote yesterday, and I know our audience got a lot out of it too.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you.
Bye.